because I was just like, you do not know me. You don't know the business I came from. Because they'd be like, well, you're going to have to work 5 days a week, like 9 to 5. And I'm like, no way. That's part-time from what I'm used to. And so I just like, it was great because it lit this fire in me. Like, you did not tell me how much money I'm going to make in my first year. And I promise you, I'm going to double or triple that number. So the first year, again, thanks to the car business, like I just was not afraid of the phones. Like I called every realtor in the state of Utah that was new. Hey, I'm Brock, new in the mortgage business. I'd love to meet you and tell you a little bit about our process. And we had a killer first year.
Welcome to Motivational Monday, conversations with me, David Ibarra, and my friend, Brock Aiken. Welcome, Brock.
David, thanks so much. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things. Now, I've known you for a long time.
Yes.
How many years has it been? I believe you were 21 years old when I first met you.
Yeah, I think it was like 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking this today. I think it was back in Logan.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was back in Logan.
Mm-hmm. And Brock, why don't you tell us a little bit about, at that particular time, you came with some enthusiasm to knock the automotive retail business on its tail, and I have never seen anybody with your level of enthusiasm. Let's talk a little bit about your career.
Yeah, so I started young. Thankfully, I think I had really good parents that wouldn't let me buy anything on their dime. And so I feel like from like 14 years old on, I truly had to buy like toothbrushes, things like that. They probably got the necessities, but really like school dances and all of that stuff, I had to save up and spend on my own. So I was really driven to find success and kind of was willing to do it at any cost. So I started it with the Murdocks, I believe, before I could drive. I think I was 15.
That's the Murdock Automotive Group.
Yeah, Murdock
Hyundai.
Auto. Yeah, exactly. Murdock Auto Group. They were opening a Hyundai store in Murray, so it was before they were in, Salt Lake, before they were in Murray. And I was a car detailer, so just worked on the lot, washing cars, and I was amazed because I think at the time, especially, people just didn't work. And so the way my parents raised me, like, you worked your butt off. And so I just, from the beginning with the Murdocks, was willing to work. And I wanted to honestly get a promotion. So I wanted
a promotion from lot tech to where?
Yeah, lot tech. And I wanted to just like be the head of the lot techs. So at the time, that was my motivation. So
managerial position from the outset.
Exactly. And honestly, like I really thank my parents because they pushed me to want to be successful. My mom was the very first female sportscaster in the state of Utah. And
your mom is?
Kathy Aiken.
Mm-hmm.
And she went through hell to do that, honestly. And I think it just really pushed me to want to be the best at whatever I was doing. So I'm grateful for my parents for that. But so wanted to manage the lot techs. And then went on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ, came back from that mission in 2012. And then I went up to school at Utah State and started selling cars up there. And I just like came back with this fire and determination. I wanted to be the absolute best at what I was doing. And I lucked into a great group with great mentors like yourself. And honestly, the Murdocks were fantastic in helping me achieve my potential.
And I recall you never walked slowly anywhere. you were always on a jog.
Yeah.
Anywhere you went.
People either love or hate that about me. I don't know how to be slow. That's for sure.
Now, I was told when you were on your mission, you didn't walk door to door. You ran door to door.
We did, yeah. We ran door to door. So that was kind of like the culture and the mission, which again I'm grateful for because I obviously latched onto that. And yeah, we were not allowed to. We kind of created this culture of you weren't allowed to walk anywhere. So you had to live your life, and your message was such urgency that you, kind of sprinted everywhere.
So, and you bring that into the automobile business. Now, tell us a little bit about starting selling. I guess you had some experience because going door to door, cold calling on people about a message isn't all that different than finding out what their needs are, satisfying their needs, and making sure that your human contact is excellent, and they leave buying a car.
Yeah, totally. I think the best thing about my mission was I learned quickly that people were going to either love or hate you in 5 to 10 seconds. And so I really took that into the car business, and we ended up getting some training on that. Can't remember who the big car trainer was back then, but that was my greatest asset. Was I knew that people you had to win them over relatively quickly, because they were going to shut off very quickly if they didn't trust you and like you. And so that was a lesson that I brought with me to the car business, because I learned that when I met somebody, you had to greet them with enthusiasm and excitement, because they were already coming in hating you.
Well, not trusting you, for sure.
For sure, yes. I mean, I think the joke was that we were like the most hated behind like getting a root canal done or going to the dentist or something like that.
Well, the fact of the matter is, when I was doing training for all of you, I would share with you that the trust level of an automobile salesperson nationally, according to the Google survey that's been done for 30 years, was 8%. And we were the lowest at the time, and then there was a profession that fell lower in trust level than us. Do you know what that profession is?
I don't.
United States Congress.
Hey, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. That is so funny. Yeah, so I feel like we had to take that energy and excitement to people pretty quick. I think the lesson I learned too was people can tell if you liked what you did and if you liked where you worked. Mm-hmm. And so if you carried yourself in a way like, I absolutely love the people I'm working for and what I do, people would instantly trust you. Because I think it's very easy when you go to other car lots in the car business, people look like they want to jump off a cliff. Like they do not want to be at their job. They look like they hate it and they dread it. And I just learned that like if you just pivot how you're talking and presenting yourself, people really have a good experience. And yeah, you kind of had no choice but to try to win them over immediately.
So you were selling at Murdock in Logan.
Yep.
And then, if I recall, you transferred.
So I was
and it went to a different position.
Yeah. So in Logan, I was promoted to like floor manager. So I started managing some of the sales guys up there, and then I got an opportunity to be a desk manager at the Murray store. So, and I was ready to leave Logan at the time. So I was done with school. I actually didn't graduate, but I was ready to leave Logan, Utah.
But you were done with school.
I was done with school. Yep.
Well, done with a formal.
Yeah, exactly.
School.
Yeah.
Because education goes on just in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, honestly, what happened was I was in a class at Utah State, and my English teacher spelled a word wrong on the board. And I walked out, and I was like, I'm done. And it was the second time she'd done that, and I'm like, what am I doing at the time going to Utah State? I'm making significantly more than my professor is, who can't spell words right. So I truly walked out of class, and I was like, that was my last day at Utah State. So, and then I transferred, down to Murray and became a desk manager, which Logan was fantastic because it was a really small store. I feel like you could, Ben Murdock at the time really empowered me to make decisions and to lead and to run the store in a way that I think most managers don't know how to do. They want to micromanage you and tell you exactly what to do. They really empowered you to have your own mindset and creativity. So Murray was a much bigger challenge at the time. The store was really struggling, and so that was the next chapter.
It was struggling, and I recall, but what happened with your leadership and the leadership of Blake Murdock, I believe?
Yeah.
Did that change?
We did, yeah. We absolutely started crushing it finally. So I was a desk manager and then became the new car manager, and cars were my obsession. I had a subscription to Motor Trend magazine when I was like 8 or 9 years old. So for me, getting to be in charge of new cars, ordering, getting that process dialed in, that's when we really started to take off. I think I learned just messing with the software that it was all about inventory, and it was all about getting the inventory dialed in. And so when my kind of obsessive personality with cars, I'd read Motor Trend, Car and Driver, so I knew a car was coming out before Hyundai would announce it. And so I had the system just all ready to go when they were going to announce the new Palisade or the new Sonata. I had inventory all dialed in. So the second we got an allocation, we could get as many cars as possible, because I feel like those first few months when a new model launches, that's when you're going to make hay. You can,
and then you have to be willing to manage the risk of a big order.
Yep.
Because if you don't earn a reorder.
100%. Yeah. So the Hyundai, I believe, has changed how they do it now. But at the time, yeah, there were certain levels you had to hit every month. And if you did not hit that level, A, you weren't going to earn more cars, and B, you would lose out on, $100,000 in that month, like substantial money. So yeah, you had to take the risk. And again, the balance was too, right? If I get a certain number of cars, we can sell them at this price and still make money, but earn our Hyundai money back. So that was a really great challenge and really pushed me. But yeah, huge thank you to Blake Murdock. He was the best leader I've ever worked with. Like, really pushed me to work hard, be creative. And I tell this to people in the mortgage business that I'm in now, finding a leader that is willing to actually give you the tools and the confidence to chase your own idea is really hard to find. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly hard to find a leader that's confident enough to hire somebody that maybe knows more than they do on a certain subject, or knows how to change a marketing plan or a marketing idea. And Blake would let me do it, which was so empowering. I miss it to this day. It was really good for me.
So tell me, why is it, through the leadership of you and Blake's leadership is very similar, how is it that you were able to take a store that was drifting and make it a very, very methodical, driven entity, and the results showed it?
I think one of my favorite sayings is that everyone has a sixth sense, and the sixth sense is they know how much you care. And I learned that customers and employees can sense if you care and love them, honestly. And so I think my leadership style at the time was to make sales guys who worked a very hard job, right? If you have a family, you're not home until 9 or 10 p.m. multiple nights a week. You're working every Saturday. You're working most holidays. And my vision was like, this is a crappy job. It just is. Like, you can, as far as the schedule goes, it can be really hard on obviously a family or even just an individual. And so my mission was, I wanted to make this job as enjoyable as humanly possible for these sales guys, so that they were excited to come to work every day. So we started to do tiers and levels where they could earn like a house cleaner for their wife. They could earn a cell phone bill that was paid. Because I guess the concern I had when I came to Murray, honestly, was retention. We had a horrible retention issue, and that's a car business-wide issue, but I think we had the worst retention that you could possibly have. And after just thinking about it and talking with sales guys, they just hated it. They hated where they worked. They didn't feel loved, seen, or appreciated. And as simple as that is, like, just sitting down with a sales guy and being like, hey, I know this is hard, or I know you've had a hard week. You've sold one car this week. You're trending to make a tenth of what you made last month. Let's sit down and make some phone calls together. And so I think I just learned that, like, salespeople need to feel loved, seen, and cared for. And that's not hard.
And you had another tier which was earning time off.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. So that was the next iteration, which, yeah, they could earn a weekend off once a month. And so you get a long weekend once a month.
You know, Brock, people ask me a lot, how is it, in 10 years of doing a similar job as you, general manager of a Ford store, I think that the greatest accomplishment that I felt was in the last 3 years, we had an average time in position of 6 years. And when we started, that was one of the first things that I did. We had one person over 5, one at 2, and then everyone was under 1. And the closing rate at 1.8 average, for instance, I just analyzed a big store that we're going to talk about this next week, is that you're going to have to pump in so much advertising if you don't get the average above the car's natural replacement year. So that's about 43 months. If you don't have 43 months as your average, you're going to be at a 30% all fresh guests as opposed to a 60% coming back to a friend trusted to replace their transportation. And people look at that, and it takes so long to do. But I'm going to work on closing this deal, but I'm also going to work on this person's head. So we put in way back then 35 hours a week and 38. That's the 2 hours that you work. And you rotated so that you rotated Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, days off until you hit Saturday would be, and the Friday before that would be early out. Then you had Saturday, Sunday, and then your next day off was Monday. And that rotated, so you had, and those were the kinds of things I never wanted to tell my competition. Brother, you're looking at the money. Half of the folks, they want they want a good life. They want to feel present. They want to not be at a birthday party and they're calling in instead of being there.
Yes. Well, I think, and just learning.
At what age do you wish you had unlocked the principles that lead to success? Where do you think you'd be today if you had learned them as a child? Yes, Our Kids Can is a program developed at Harvard and tested in San Antonio's school systems, designed to give children of all backgrounds the opportunity to plant the seeds for future success, using learning techniques they understand and enjoy. Through engaging animated stories, fun sing-along songs, and interactive games, Yes, Our Kids Can teaches your child the empowering, success-driven principles needed to reach their full potential. Don't miss this opportunity to give your children the future they deserve. Yes, Our Kids Can is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Sign up today and help make your child's dreams a reality.
Like, if a sales guy asks you, I need to leave for 2 hours, I've got, a graduation or a kindergarten performance, whatever, let them leave. It's one of my favorite sayings lately. It's just not that serious.
Yeah.
Like letting an employee leave for 2 hours is not a big deal. It's just not that serious. And so if they have something that's going to mean a lot to them, and like you were the best at teaching me this, which is understanding that everyone is motivated differently. Obviously the personality profiles and personality types, but that then equates to they're motivated differently. So if you have a sales guy that maybe isn't motivated by money like you just insinuated, but is motivated by family time or an opportunity to go be with their kids for a little bit, do it. It's just not that serious. Let them leave for 2 hours.
Why the number one reason that people started an automobile dealership is the money.
Yeah.
That they do good money, but they lose time.
Yeah.
There's two compensations, currency and time, and experience and relationship. If you don't get the second one, you'll never be happy very long with the currency, first compensation. But learning that is you have to have maybe 5-6 additional salespeople, but if they're all working 80% of the time present, you got an army.
For sure. Yep, 100%. And you can just sense, I think, by the energy of a sales guy if they're in the game or out of the game. Yeah. And I think when you can sense they're out of the game, whether they're frustrated or mad or whatever, just like a customer that's in the store, if you can tell a customer's unhappy, you're going to solve it right then. Right. But for some reason, we forget it with employees. Yeah. And if a sales guy's been sitting with his head down for 2 days and just like is frustrated, they're in the back of the room in sales meeting with their arms closed or arms folded, sit them down and figure out like, hey, what's up? I can tell something's going on. Yeah. Again, it just comes down to everyone can tell how much you care. And there were some sales guys that, man, just one conversation of just connecting with them and being like, dang, I know you've had a really hard week or whatever. It turns their whole week around. They just need to get it off their chest.
Well, I've heard the most powerful 3-letter word in the English language is ASK. Simply ask. And that opens up and starts the conversation. You left Murray and went back to Linden?
Linden, yeah. And that's where as a new car manager.
Okay.
Yep. And that's where things like really, really took off. So proudest accomplishment, we were the #1 Hyundai store, I think for a month or two in the Western US. And that was like the most exciting time for me. So I absolutely loved working at the Linden store. I worked with the most incredible management team, and the energy and excitement down there was just fuel for me. Like I could not have had a better time. I loved that store.
Now, what happened, because everything is so enthusiastic, you would think that, hey, Brock, Aiken is on his way to a general manager of his own dealership.
Yeah.
You decided to make a switch. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
And leave the automobile business.
Yeah, I did. It was a big switch. And honestly, it was one of the biggest it was probably the biggest gamble I ever made in my adult life as far as a career goes. Because yeah, the Murdocks are like family to me. I love them. I trust them. I think we had a killer working relationship. But I was dating someone at the time, and I was on a flight home from Turks and Caicos. It was December 25th. December 25th. And I had to be home to work the closing shift on the 26th. And on the flight home, like we had to cut our trip short, obviously. And on the flight home, I was reading this book, and it just talked about, like, it was just very simple, talked about, like, your body knows when you need to make a change. And as, like, simple as that is, on the flight home, I was so anxious and mad and frustrated because it was another thing in my life that I was missing out on. A holiday, like, everybody's taking off those days, right, to be with their family or whatever. And I was having to fly home on Christmas Day to be able to work that closing shift at the car dealership. So on the flight home, I was just like, I'm done. Like I feel like I've put in every amount of energy and passion that I can into this business. And really, like, that Genesis store that opened, I know I was going to have an opportunity to run that store. But it was very hard for me to find anyone in the car business that emulated the life that I wanted. I think it's very hard to have friends. It's very hard to have deep family connections because it becomes your entire life. I don't know that it necessarily has to be, but that's kind of what I saw modeled in a lot of situations. I can tell you this, is it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And the ones that aren't, they soar. I had in my office posted the 3 people that were hired to sell for us and couldn't join us because there wasn't an opening yet. They'd be posted in my office. They'd come back by about every 2 weeks to look at the posting to see when. I said, well, we only lose 3 people a year.
Oh, I remember that.
You can get there, but you have to go. And it's not all that much of a different direction. It's like, when I interview a new dealer and I ask him, I said, well, what's your main concern? Why are you here? I just can't find good employees. And I said, and you never will. And he goes, well, why do you say that? Listen to how you refer to them. An employee is a liability. You better start looking for team members and associates. Words matter.
I love that.
Yeah. So
I love that.
Tell me about what happened. You
decided
to leave.
Decided to leave.
That had to be an interesting conversation with Blake Murdock.
Well, I was super nervous for the conversation, and I had tried to leave before, so I'm sure he was rolling his eyes. But he was great. He's like, and I think that's another thing that I love about Blake is that conversation was super inspiring for me because I laid out all the reasons why I wanted to leave, and I was very definitive. And I started the meeting. I said, don't offer me a paycheck. Do not throw any money at me. I'm ready to go. But Blake was like, hey, I know you're ready for a change in your life, and I will do whatever you need to help you with that. I'll give you any referrals. I'll make any phone calls you need me to. And I respected him so much for that conversation because the business I'm in now, which we'll get into in a minute, we left a previous company that was going under, and the CEO called and ripped us. You're going to fail at your next company. I can't believe you'd leave me, whatever. We've told like 30 people that we know in this business, never go work for that company. But Blake, I left with the best taste in my mouth because I was genuinely, he wanted me to move on and help me with that opportunity. And I think like as leaders, we do need to recognize sometimes it is time for people to move on. Mm-hmm. And all you can do is help them in that.
Yes.
No yelling match, no horrible conversation, especially after being somewhere 15 years. And I hear these crazy stories in the car business. You just go, I love you, dude. You gave us 15 years. We are going to like send you off with a big goodbye. And Blake was great that way.
I try to remind people when I hear them refer to my people. We don't have people. We're not Moses. We have relationships during a period of our growth and their growth, and when we come to the crossroads, we have to take each of us our own road, and maintain that relationship because you don't know when they cross again.
Totally.
Later.
Well, and you're the best. I think one of your best skills is your ability to just change simple words. And it's crazy in these conversations, just, how you talk about people that work for you, how you view the world, or how you think in your mind. Just like switching one or two words can make all the difference. And I think people that work for you, not talking about them as, my people, you own them, whatever. It's amazing how simple that shift is. But so I left the car business. And one of the motivations was I hadn't sold cars for 7 years. And when I would go do a turn, which in car terminology is the sales guy can't close it, so I'm going to go attempt to close it. I would have people still come back and ask for me, and ask for me to buy the car. And I was like, why am I not doing this on like 10 times the commission scale? So I saw the mortgage business. So I had a friend in the mortgage business. My brother was going to leave his tech sales job. And so we decided to start Aiken Brothers, a little mortgage team, and go into the mortgage business.
Now, how long have you had your mortgage business?
So it's been 4 years now.
4 years.
It's crazy, but 4 years.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the struggle, and tell me about how long it took to hit stride.
Well, I think one of the greatest lessons I learned, much like the car business, you'll love this, David. We interviewed quite a few companies before we decided where we were going to join to begin. And everyone would tell us, hey, how much do you have in savings? Do you have like $100,000 in savings? You're probably not going to make more than 20 to 40 grand in your first year. And I would laugh in every meeting when they would say this to me, because I was just like, you do not know me. You don't know the business I came from. Because they'd be like, well, you're going to have to work 5 days a week, like 9 to 5. And I'm like, no way. That's part-time from what I'm used to. And so I just it was great because it lit this fire in me. Like, you did not tell me how much money I'm going to make in my first year. And I promise you, I'm going to double or triple that number. So the first year, again, thanks to the car business, I just was not afraid of the phones. I called every realtor in the state of Utah that was new. Hey, I'm Brock, new in the mortgage business. I'd love to meet you and tell you a little bit about our process. And we had a killer first year. So made a little over $100,000 my first year, which in our company at the time was the most anyone had ever done in their first year. And I just attribute it to the car business. I learned how to win, honestly, how to win every single day. And I think a phrase we talked about a lot in the car business, and it was probably because of you, is you get what you track. Mm-hmm. Just like with eLeader Tech, you ETS, you get what you track. So if you're tracking your metrics, which I tracked every single day, how many lunch and learns I had set up with realtors, how many calls I made that day, how many appointments I had set for the week, you get what you track. And so thankfully from the car business, I use that every single day by myself to track those metrics. And so the mortgage business is really challenging, much like the car business, but 10 times I would say the competition of people that are constantly calling your clients to try to offer a better rate, better fees, whatever. And so I'd say the greatest challenge has been trying to educate people and educate young buyers who think that TikTok knows best. What a good deal is, what a good experience is, and how to acquire properties. And so, I think the biggest challenge I'd say, again, has been educating people. And I mean, the opportunity is 70% of loan officers have left the business in the last 24 months, 70%.
Wow.
And so our competition has fled, which has been great. It leaves just...
So how many are in your company as far as mortgage loan
officers?
Yes.
So we personally each have 2 employees that work for us, and then
before we're done, you're going to start saying associates.
Hey, we have 2 associates each, and we had one loan officer, but he left actually to go open a car dealership. Mm-hmm. But we currently. I just have those assistants right now. The issue is we had originally wanted to hire loan officers to train them, and I realized that us being the face, us talking to every client is the way for us to be most successful. I need a team of people that's handling all of the follow-up and documents and all of that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, Brock?
What's next for me is a great question. I think the biggest focus of my next 12 months is doing what sets me on fire. That is a phrase I learned from my business coach, Shayla Gifford, that will not leave my mind. So I think we all have been put on earth with many talents and abilities, and we need to be doing what sets us on fire. So I love what I'm doing right now. I don't know that it fully sets me on fire and is like using all of my talents and abilities. So I'm working on a real estate fund right now with one of my business partners that we're going to work on acquiring properties that it's called wraparound mortgage, basically to use their really cheap interest rate and be able to rent them for way over what that interest rate is. So that's a focus of mine. And I want to get into public speaking, which I've talked to you about a lot. I feel like I have a really cool story of some things I've gone through in my life. And developing a positive mindset for me is a challenge. It's not, people think that I just am like this great energy and positivity, but and that was just kind of who I am. And it's not that way. It's a really, at times for me, it's a fight to maintain a positive attitude. And so I want to tell that story and help people overcome.
Well, I can tell you this, you'll be great at it. And I would suggest what you don't do. Don't take any classes on it. Stand up, look at that audience. They came to hear a story and share that story with them.
Love
from
that.
Your heart to theirs, and they will walk out. Wow.
Love that.
Well, let's end there, and I've got a little present for you.
Thank you, sir.
A copy of Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich, my second book, and my third is almost done.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
David.
you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you as always.